Welcome, fellow freaks, geeks, and nostalgic peeps, to my channel, Slime and Slashers, where we talk about horror, books, movies, and nostalgia too! Plus, lots of stuff in between, like books. And today's video, it is a book-themed video, it is a very late August TBR, I'm so sorry! But hey, better late than never, right? So, let's get to the short intro, and when we come back, we'll get into the TBR. Welcome back, guys! Okay, this is gonna be a short and sweet TBR video. I'm just gonna go through a few of the books in my pile of possibilities, but I did want to give a special shout out to the event that I'm helping co-host in the month of August that we're already in right now, so this is a little late. Please excuse me, but the event is GarbAugust, where we read, and for this year, for the first time, also can watch trashy books and movies. So I'm excited. So the mastermind behind this event is Olly, of course, over at the channel Criminale. I love Olly. Please, please, please subscribe to his channel if you haven't already. He's an awesome person. He's really creative too and very, very smart. And I love the way he discusses books. However, he loves trash too. So not only is he talking about stuff in like an educated and prestigious way sometimes, on the other hand, he also reads and talks about a lot of trashy books too, and I think that's just another thing to love about him and his channel. And I can relate to it because I also love to read trashy books. And when we say trashy books, we don't mean that in a negative way. What we mean by the word trash when it comes to describing a book or movie is something that doesn't necessarily fit into a prestigious category. It's not going to win any kind of award. It might buy into some very popular tropes to sell more copies. It could be anything along those lines. So just because it's trashy doesn't mean it's not good, and it doesn't mean it's not enjoyable, and it doesn't mean that the author isn't talented. It just means that, you know, some people, or most people, might consider it trashy. So horror as a whole, I think, is kind of under that umbrella. A lot of people look down upon horror as a genre, sadly, books and movies, and it's just a whole big sad thing. It really should be looked at a lot differently, but whatever. There's a lot of smart, amazing people who read horror. I think it makes these people even more well-rounded that they read horror, but you know, that's neither here nor there. I'm not gonna rant on about it too much, but my TBR is filled with trash because of GarbAugust. So if you start to see a theme that's like, oh, all of this is just kind of like either indie horror that's like very B-movie-esque, or it's very kind of vintage horror filled, it's because I'm trying to celebrate GarbAugust by reading and watching trashy things, but mostly reading. I do have a few movies that I'm going to be watching, but it's for a secret project that I'm hoping to get to, and I might try to vlog it, so stand by. I'm not going to give away what I'm watching for that. So first, let's start off with my book club, the Midnight Book Society, which I have a Discord for, and that Discord is free and open to the public, and we should be having a live show in regards to the read for the month of August. And the live show co-host will be Christine from Secrets Read, so check out her channel if you haven't already. She is awesome and really just very underrated. I love her channel. She's got a great personality. So the book we'll be reading together is Nightscape by Stephen R. George. And this cover for this book is freaking gnarly in the best sense of the word. This is a paperback from hell type of book, aka a vintage horror book. And I've actually heard really good things about it. I actually think I read a review that said it leans dark fantasy, but I'm not sure. I don't like to know too much going into my book club reads just because I like to be surprised. So we'll see how it is. It does have an audiobook, by the way, and it is available in a Kindle edition, so you don't have to have a vintage copy. I actually do not have a vintage copy. I wish I did because, like I said, the cover, but, you know, alas, I do not, but it is okay. I'm excited to read it nonetheless. Okay, and next up, a quick shout out. I do still plan on having a live show unless something goes wrong, fingers crossed, for the July book club pick, which was The Final Gate by Lucas Magnum and Wesley Southard. I actually haven't read this yet, so this is technically now on my August TBR. I'm literally about to start it, since we're already in August. I'm literally about to start it any day now, and I'm really excited because I've already heard from a few people on my Discord for my book club that they loved this, that it was fast-paced, that it was a lot of fun, so I am really eager to get to it, especially because I haven't been hearing very many negative things about this, so yay, I'm excited. So you still have time to check this out because I haven't even read it yet, and I have not scheduled a live show yet, so there's still time if you want to dig in for the July read, but just, you know, after July, which is what I'm gonna do. And quickly, another thing I've been doing with Christine is we've been hosting a Richard Lehman read-along every month, and this month, for August, our read is In the Dark. We have an area of discussion for all the Richard Lehman books on the same Discord as my book club Discord, but you don't have to participate in both things. It could be one or the other or both things, it doesn't matter, but if you're into the Richard Lehman read-along, which I would say take caution if you've never even read Richard Lehman before, because he's not for everybody, he's super trashy, and he sexualizes all of his characters, and it's a lot to take sometimes, so if you are into it though, we do have a place for discussion for this book. There is no audio for this though, so beware. However, even Christine said this, Richard Lehman's books read pretty fast, so even though this is about 500 pages or a little over that, it still will probably read fast, I'm hoping. Next up, I'm going to be doing a buddy read with my friend Kat and some others of The Store by Bentley Little. I am so excited to get to this. It's going to be a lot of fun. I've never read anything by Bentley Little, and for the last couple of years, I keep saying, I need to read something by Bentley Little. It's actually going to happen this month, and I do have the audio for it already. I own the audio, so there's no excuse not to get to this, and I'm really stoked about it, and I know Kat's on board too, so woo, let's go! Alright, next I'm just going to go through some options that I can dig into at any point if I have time. This book is on my 24 books to read in 2024. It's Dream House by Douglas Borton. Some of the trashiest, craziest, zaniest old school books I've ever read have been from Douglas Borton. I say some of. I've only read 2 of his books. One was more subdued, but it had a lot of violence towards the end, but it was more of a slow burn build, you know, building to a crescendo. Whereas the other book I read from him called Death Song was balls to the wall bonkers, and it started right away. I've heard this is balls to the walls bonkers. That's a really hard phrase to say. I shouldn't say it anymore. Anyway, I heard this one's crazy and wild, and I am really wanting to dig into it, hence why it's on my 24 to read in 2024. A book that is actually probably not very trashy at all, and it's not even that vintage, is Dweller by Jeff Strand, but because Jeff Strand is more of an indie horror author and isn't super popular like somebody like Kuntz or King, who are more respected, I'm gonna count this as trash, even though I know that this is actually a really good book. My friend Andrew from It Came From The Page, check out his channel, he read this earlier this year, and it's one of his favorite books of the year, and he gave it a 5-star rating, so I am really, really eagerly anticipating reading this. I don't know if I'll get to it in August, but I'd like to. We'll see. Another option that is actually from my 24 to read in 2024 list, again, is Mirror by Graham Masterton. I've read, I think, 3 other books by Graham Masterton, yep, and they were all trashy and amazing, and I say that in the best way, like, trashy, ultimate trash in the best sense of the word, like, oh, the trash you kind of want to praise. That's Graham Masterton's style. I've heard this one's fun and good, and I can't wait to get to it. The only thing that might stop me is it's a chunky book and there's no audio. But I've heard that this one's really fun, really entertaining. Obviously, there's like a kid and a creepy mirror. I don't know if that's actually in the story. Yeah.
The child was dead, yet lived, miraculously trapped behind silvered glass. His freedom was worth any price, but that price is more than any man can pay. The mirror is a gateway to hell. It is said that a mirror can trap a person's soul.
I know some friends and I were talking about buddy reading Hobgoblin by John Coyne. Coyne? He's a popular writer. Why can't I say his name? But anyway, it's another vintage horror book, and I don't know if we're really going to get to it in August, but it's a good potential, because I've heard that this one's also a little crazy and fun, and it definitely kind of demonizes D&D, which is a little sad, because, you know, back in the day, people were really scared of that, and I think that's a little sad, but I think it's gonna be a fun read nonetheless, even though it wrongfully kind of demonizes that game. Poor kids who play D&D getting demonized, but what ifs. I'm still eager to see how they kind of make it look so bad and evil, but I think it's gonna be a good time. This is a random book. You know, I read seasonally, and August is the last month that I try to read summer books in, so I feel like this could be a summery book. I have this book on one of my 24 books to read in 2024 lists, and I'd like to try to get to it. This is The Descent by Jeff Long. Again, I don't think it really is classified as trash, but I think broadly you could say that any horror is trash. And by the way, for GarbAugust, there is a bingo board with like prompts, and there are weekly categories that you could do. You could also read from different decades. I'm kind of just reading whatever. I'm not following the prompts, which Olly said is fine if you don't follow the prompts. So I'm not following the bingo board, not following the decades, not following the weekly themes. I'm just reading trash all month long and fitting any trash I can in when I can. All right, next up, Cruel Jaws, and I was just kindly gifted this by my friend Andrew, and I'm really excited to check it out. New terror surfaces, says the back of the book. Another gift from the wonderful Andrew over at It Came From the Page. He gave me the Rocky novelization, and I want to try to get to this month. However, if I don't, it's okay. I could get to it in November because Andrew will be hosting an event called Novelization November, and so I could just read it then because this is a novelization, but it's also probably considered trashy because novelizations in general are kind of frowned upon and they're considered trashy, but I don't think they should be. Anyway, I'm excited to get to this. Thank you so much, Andrew. I love all the books you send. Some other options that I'm hoping to get to, just random paperbacks from hell that I picked out because they look good or have audio. One's The Fungus by Harry Adam Knight. I have read another book by Harry Adam Knight and enjoyed it, so why not try The Fungus if I have time? Another book off of my 24 to read in 2024, I've got The Dwelling by Tom Elliott. I've heard that it's bonkers, like some of the other books I've talked about today. I've gone on different Reddit threads and Facebook groups that talk about horror books and hidden gems or crazy, like, you know, vintage books, and I tried to pick out titles. That's how I find some of these books, specific titles. I specifically am looking for hidden gems or crazy books. So if you're wondering how I come up with these random books, it's because I specifically look up some of them and I look for specific things when I'm browsing for books. Next up, I had this on a previous TBR, but I didn't get to it. I already own the audio though. Z Shark. It is about a zombie shark, and I'd love to try to squeeze that in. Animal Attack books are a perfect example of trashy books, so I've got a couple of Animal Attack books specifically by this author. His name is Paul Zindel, and I have read 2 other Animal Attack books by Paul Zindel. They are YA books, but they have really great, like, violent scenes, like violent deaths that are very, I don't know, they're very non-PG. It's crazy. In fact, they almost look like middle grade books, the way the books are designed when you look at the vintage copies, but apparently they're YA. But even so, they don't read YA in terms of the violent parts, but you know, some of the characterization's not that deep. However, I am so excited to read more Paul Zindel Animal Attack books because every one I've read so far, which are 2 others, I've enjoyed. So the other ones that I have on my list, Locke, The Doom Stone, and finally Reef of Death. All by Paul Zindel, and I couldn't be more excited. Oh, I almost forgot one. Raptor. Hell yeah. All Animal Attack. All by my boy, Paul Zindel. I call him my boy. I've only read 2 books by him, but I'll still call him my boy. I don't care. Alright, and last but not least, I just have a few point horror books and Fear Street books on my list. I'll just give you a few titles. I have The Accident as a potential read. I also have I Saw You That Night by R.L. Stine as a potential read. Those both seem very summery to me. Also, going away from point horror and those types of books, I have an indie horror book on my list that's more Animal Attack related called Sewer Sharks. My friend Katrina over at the channel Katrina Brown read this earlier this year and she said it was fun, so I put it as a potential on my list. I also have another Animal Attack called Blood Island. I think Olly tried to read this and said it was bad. Was that the one? I can't remember, but that might be the one that Olly was like, it was bad. It was horrible. And I was like, oh no. That was on a future TBR of mine because I was already planning this TBR. Anyway. I don't care. We don't always agree on reads, me and Olly, so I still will give it a try, but I just thought it was funny how he was like, it was bad. That's a British accent? Not really. Anyway, those are the potentials. I've got a lot more on my list, but I don't want to go through all of them because it's a lot. It would take forever. Okay, guys, there you have it. Those are some of my possibilities. Have you guys read any of the books I talked about today? If so, which ones? What did you think about it? Should I prioritize any of the books I discussed? If you've read and loved them, let me know so that I can make that a higher priority for the month of August. But for this time, guys, I think that is it for me. Till next time, guys, you know what you can do. Keep on killing it. Bye, guys. Have a trashy August! And I mean that in a nice way.